gardeners and cooks, welcome back to our garden. And today is all about growing pumpkins and winter squashes. Alright, so we are at the field where we're growing pumpkins, winter squashes and also green beans. So here we have a glass house on the right side, and in these two rows over here were green beans and yellow beans, and over here in this row we're growing the pumpkins and winter squashes. So you can see we still have some of them left here. So we're also growing two kinds of pumpkins here. One is the bigger one, as you can see here. We picked some of them already, and we're mostly using them as decoration, but you can also eat them. And we're also growing this one, which is the Hokkaido pumpkin, and this one is the tastiest pumpkin that you can find. So if you ever gonna grow pumpkins, make sure you grow this Hokkaido kind, because they're the tastiest. They're much tastier than this kind. These bigger ones, they're also tasty, but this Hokkaido pumpkin, they have a really tasty flesh. They're almost like a buttery kind of eggy flavor, kind of. It's like really tasty and have lots of flavor. So if you have a seeds, so if you can get a seeds, make sure you get these ones of Hokkaido pumpkin. Alright, so what are some of my tips on growing pumpkins? The number one tip that many people, me included, are overlooking is the space requirement. So last year we were growing pumpkins on the potato field over there, and we were growing them together with watermelons, and I was literally planting them this much far apart, which is not a good idea. Like one pumpkin is gonna produce many vines around. I can't show it to you now because we already had like a weak frost about a month ago, which killed all the zucchini plants and all the pumpkins as well. So it's all the melon family, and they basically grow from one vine, and they're putting more vines around, and they have a big leaves as well. So pumpkins have like a leaf about this diameter. That's one leaf, and you can imagine the vine with so many leaves going around, like 4 or 5 meters on one side. It's just crazy. And they would also grow along the fence. Definitely you wanna space them appropriately. I would say about 1.5 meters as a general rule. So the same as watermelons. You want to space them at least 1.5 meters. So you might be thinking you're kind of losing your space and it could be growing something else. But once you see these things growing and overtaking over your field, you'll be grateful that you didn't plant so many, because if they compete too much between themselves, they're not gonna produce as many pumpkins. And from one pumpkin plant you can get like 5 pumpkins or something like that. And same applies to the winter squashes, like these ones. I haven't cooked from this yet, but you can see they produce really big fruits. So it's actually all fruit family. Another important tip is to plant at least 2 seeds in one hole, because if you plant one and it's not gonna make it, you're kind of losing, 1.5 meters each direction. So it's about 3 meters length of space, which is not so funny. So that's why you wanna put 2 seeds in one hole. And if one doesn't make it, you can always, and somewhere else they make it, both of them, then you can take the seedling from somewhere else and plant it to your original place. And one more tip I can give you is not to plant them too early. Same like zucchinis or green beans, all these warm loving plants. You want to wait until like May, even middle of May, to start planting them. You're still gonna have plenty of time even if you plant them in June, because if you plant them like early, like in April, and it still gets quite cold weather, even at the end of April, beginning of May, you can get a light frost, and it's not worth it to plant so much pumpkins. And if it gets like cold, like right now we are getting like only 10 degrees days and like 2 degrees nights, which is possible in April. They're just gonna stunt the growth and might even die. So it's not good to just stress your plants like that. And I experimented before when I planted some things early in April, when I would see already weather around 20 degrees, and then in May it would just drop down to like 12 degrees out of nowhere, and it would just stunt the growth. And then I would plant some other things in May, and they would just catch up with the other things that I would plant much earlier. So you don't need to hurry up with these warm loving plants. If you see a good weather in April, just wait until May or even early June, and that's the perfect time to grow them. And you know, when they have the warm weather, they'll just overtake even the plants that are planted in April. So here you can see one squash plant. You know, it's still growing. This one is still alive, but here we can even see some leaves growing. But this is not gonna make it much. This cold weather is just taking its toll on these guys, and this one is still even attached to the stem. It's called winter squash, but it's not gonna handle even a light frost. I'm not sure why it's called winter squash when you don't even grow it in autumn. It should be called summer squash. I don't know any squash that would grow into the winter. None of the melon family is not gonna grow. You see another stem. These guys are growing all around here as well. So they even overtook some of the beans that are growing here. They're wilted already until here. And here we're growing some other things. That's for another video. I think if we provided them even more space, they would go even better. So you can see this one started growing over here and into another property, another field that's not ours. And then I think somebody else picked the fruit from that one. And one of them, I think, even started growing up on this tree. And yeah, you can see another one grew like this up on this tree as well. But I don't see any more pumpkins here. Then we have another one over here next to the strawberry patch. You can see they really like to grow on the fences. So if you have some fence, they'll do better than on the ground. They're gonna be more disease free, but either way the frost is gonna kill them as well. I found that they somehow do better over here. There was a September drought and they survived, all of them. See, went like that. One of them even on the other side of the fence was growing. Another one over here. So they can find their own place. One started growing here in the watermelon patch, so this was all watermelons. Even though we didn't have much space this way, I put all of them to grow this way, and as you can see, they found their own way to climb on the fence, which was great. And I think I'm gonna plant them like this next year as well. We'll see. Alright, another important thing when you're growing these pumpkins and squashes is you want to put a lot of nutrients in the soil in the form of compost. So as you can see, these guys, if they don't have much compost, they're not gonna grow so big. And if they have a lot of compost and material to grow with, they're gonna grow really huge like this. And these guys, like, I never grown anything like this. Maybe one watermelon I grew big like this, but this is probably the heaviest fruit I ever grown. And also another important tip is to make sure you prune it at the beginning around once it's growing, so it's gonna grow a few leaves, kind of like a bucket, and you want to prune all around it for the first month. But then second month, you know, it's gonna just create more vines all around, and it's gonna be really hard to prune under it with the tool. So we just wanna, they kind of gonna take care of themselves. They're just growing here, and you just they're gonna grow on the ground, yeah. So the high grass is just gonna be like growing in between, and you can just easily pull them up. But the small grasses under that, they'll just get shaded by the leaves. So you will see once you grow them, it's gonna be like a forest of leaves everywhere. But they're definitely good for making soups or pumpkin pies. And also a really good thing is that they can last a long time stored. So these guys stopped growing pretty much in August. I think early August they're all ready. So it's been almost over 3 months, and you see they're still hard, not even a sign of decomposition. So they can last you for, I think, half a year, and then they're gonna start decomposing. But obviously if you keep them in a cool weather, they'll last even longer. So definitely a good thing to grow. You can always store them in your basement where it's cooler, or in your garage. So I would not recommend growing pumpkins if you have a limited space. Some people will try to grow them if they have like a little square. No way, these guys need at least 1.5 meters, which is about this length both ways. You can see those tires behind me. That's how much space they need between. That's 1.5 meters. The more you give them, the better, but 1.5 meters is like a minimum they require, and I can't stress this enough. And other than that, they are really good with fighting the disease. Like, they would grow really good if you provide them space, and if it's too dry, just water them. And they are different than watermelons or zucchinis. Watermelons and zucchinis only grow from one stem, and then they just grow different branches. But pumpkins, they grow also branches, but they're rooting themselves as they go. It's really good because when they root themselves again in the soil, they can take up more nutrients and also take up more water. So you don't have to just focus on watering the main stem, but you can also water around. And pumpkins, they will eventually just die when they're done producing. As you will see, like by the end of July, I think beginning of August, if you plant them in May, they'll just start wilting down the leaves. But for some reason these winter squashes didn't hold back. They're just growing more and more until the frost. I hope this helped you with some of tips on growing pumpkins. And now we're gonna go to the kitchen to make some delicious pumpkin pie. Hello guys, so welcome back to the kitchen, and today we're gonna make the pumpkin pie, which is the perfect pie for this kind of weather. You know, everybody loves the pumpkin spice, and it's nice, comforting feeling to have a pumpkin pie on a cold autumn evening. Here we have 2 pumpkins that we picked from the field outside, and we'll see if we're gonna need more than this, but for now we're just gonna cut up 2 pumpkins, which is not so. You need a big knife for this, and just cut the tops first. And now we're just gonna peel it around. It's really hard to peel it with a peeler, so now we're just gonna go around with a big knife. And it's pretty much the hardest part of making a pumpkin pie or pumpkin soup, to peel the pumpkins. But once you get a hang of it, it's pretty good. For women, it's a little bit harder to peel this because you need quite a lot of power to peel off the skin. But here we go. Alright, so once we peeled our pumpkins, we're gonna cut them up into little pieces. so it doesn't matter what big pieces you cut it, because it's all gonna be blended into a puree. So we're just gonna cut it on roughly pieces like this, so it fits into the blender. Alright, now we're gonna put our pumpkins to boil. So we put them in a cooker and we just put enough water just to the bottom so it's not too watery. Now we're just gonna saute them for around 10 minutes and then we're gonna blend them up. So now we're gonna make almond flour. So we just put 2 cups of almonds and now we're just gonna blend them in a NutriBullet, or you can also use normal blender. Okay, so next we have 1 cup of water that we're gonna put in a blender together with 1 cup of cashews. Alright, and now we're gonna put in about 6 dates to soak in with the cashews. So now we put about 10 small dates here. If you have metro dates, put about 5. And if you like it less sweet, just put around 6 dates. Okay, so while our cashews and dates are soaking in the bowl, we're gonna prepare our crust. So here we have 2 cups of almond meal, which is, as you saw, is just crushed up blended almonds. Right, so now we're gonna add about 3 tablespoons of flaxseed meal, which is again just ground up flax seeds. Then we have 1/3 of a cup of water and 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. Alright, now we're just gonna mix it together. Also mix it with your hand like this. Alright, so now we're gonna make the pumpkin puree. So we let the pumpkin boil for around 10 minutes. And now we're gonna strain the excess water. Make sure that most of the water is out. Now we're gonna put it in the blender. Alright, now we're just gonna blend it. Now we're gonna make our crust in this container. So you can use something like this for making cheesecakes or any baking tray that's in a round shape like this. So we're gonna put our crust here. Now we're just gonna press it around. You can also put a baking parchment paper at the bottom if your thing gets stuck too much, but ours we can just put the edges out. So hopefully ours is gonna be good. And now we're just gonna press it around. You want this to be spread evenly everywhere. Okay, so now we spread it around evenly. We're gonna make the edges on the side. So just kind of twist it around and push it with your thumbs up. If there is some parts where there is not enough, just take from some other part and put it there and cover the holes. Okay, so once we finish our crust, we're gonna make few holes with a fork so it doesn't make bubbles. Alright, now we're gonna put the crust to bake for around 10 minutes on 170 degrees Celsius or 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so now we're gonna make our filling. So first we're gonna put about 2 cups of the pumpkin puree that we just made. Alright, now we're gonna add into the pumpkin puree 3/4 of a cup of soy milk, or you can use any kind of milk. It doesn't really matter if it's sweetened or flavored, just add it in. And now we're gonna add about half a kilo of pitted dates. So don't forget to remove pits before you add them in. This adds up to about 1.5 cups of dates. This is instead of the sugar, so it's a healthier whole food vegan option. Even though it's more expensive than white sugar, it's much better for you. Alright, next we're gonna add about 1/4 cup of cornstarch to help it to thicken up a little bit. And we're also gonna add in about 1 teaspoon of vanilla powder. Alright, so now we're gonna add our spices. So it's a pumpkin spice, so if you have a pumpkin spice mix in the store, you can use that, but we're gonna make our own. So you'll be using 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Next we have a 1/4 spoon of ginger, but don't overdo it because it's gonna become bitter. And also 1/4 spoon of nutmeg. And also about 1/8 of a spoon of cloves. So if you don't have a grounded cloves, just try to cut them in small pieces with a knife. Alright, and now we're gonna blend the mixture. Okay, so here we have our cashews and dates soaking from the beginning of the video. So we're gonna add vanilla extract here. And now we're gonna blend it. Alright, so now we're gonna put our filling into the crust. Gonna smear it around with this smearing tool. Just twist it around so it's even everywhere. Alright, so now we're gonna put it back in the oven again at 175 degrees Celsius or 350 Fahrenheit for 45 minutes. Alright, here is our pumpkin pie. It's been 45 minutes in the oven. Okay, so now we're gonna open.
Yeah, more all the way, yeah.
And voila. So here we have a nice pumpkin pie. So now first have to let it cool down, so just have to be cool, and then we're gonna put this cashew cream on top. Okay, so now we're just gonna cut a little piece here. Right, now just gonna put a little bit of this cashew cream. can also put on the whole thing, but just make sure you let it cool down first. And it's also pumpkin pie gonna taste better once it's cooled down. It's gonna be more thicker, but I can't wait to try this. So here we go. So sweet. You don't need to use any sugar, just dates. Together with the spices, it's really good mix. Alright guys, thanks for watching another awesome video from the things you can make from the produce from the garden. And stay tuned for more videos like this one. And as always, keep cooking and keep gardening.